Here we are in your Office 365 homepage. This is your splash screen. You should be extremely familiar with this by now. I'm going to go over the last portion of OneDrive course now and our lesson on OneDrive, and that is about administering. So as a power user, you are going to have to administer it. You are going to be likely in charge of the security, who can share, how you can sync, what IPs are available to be able to access OneDrive. If I'm talking a little bit over your head right now, that's okay. We will get down to what all that means here. So first off, we want to find admin, which is over here on the left. Once we click on admin, it'll bring us to this page, which we have done another course or another lesson on this as well, and what all some of this means. And so if we come down here to the admin centers, we'll see security, compliance, a couple different ones. SharePoint is a big one, but then we'll want to find all admin centers. If we click on all admin centers, that is going to bring us over to this page, which will show us all the different admin centers that we have access to. If you don't see this page or you don't have access to this, it's probably because you're not a global admin or you're not an administrator to multiple environments. But one of the ones that we find down here is OneDrive. That's the one that we care about for this, and we are going to click on OneDrive. Now here we are. We've made it to the OneDrive administration area. So this is admin.onedrive.com if you are searching by URL, and you will likely look like this when you get there. This is the homepage of the OneDrive Admin Center, and we're going to go down this sidebar navigation as far as sharing, syncing, storage, device access, which does have to do with IP addresses, compliance, notifications, and data migration, which will actually take you into the SharePoint Admin Center. So we're going to start at sharing. Now, this should look relatively familiar to you. We went over the Microsoft SharePoint environment. It has the same permissions of share. Anyone can have access, new and existing external users, existing external users, and then only people in your organization is the least permissive. Now, if we turn OneDrive all the way up and we go into SharePoint, these should move down at the same time, and they do. That is by design. You can move OneDrive down, but if you move SharePoint down, OneDrive moves with it. Now, there are also links, so shareable to anyone with links. Only people in your organization can share with links. This is all about how you want to share your documents, who you want to be able to have access to via link. That doesn't mean that you can't share links out with people. That just means that the overall URL is only internal, and then there's that shareable link that we went over in the last video. That is with anyone. So these are slightly different. Now, there is advanced settings down here as well, and that displays to the owners the names of the people who viewed their files. I think this one's really important. I wouldn't uncheck it if I were you. I think it's really important that we see who is managing our documents and who is accessing them. I think that is big when it comes to permission and who all is actually looking at our documents. So I wouldn't uncheck that, wouldn't do that. Now let's go over to sync. So syncing is when or if you remember, we clicked that button in OneDrive and it synced to our desktop. You can turn this off. So as a global administrator, you can say, you know what, I don't want anyone to sync. I want everyone to work directly in OneDrive. That's your choice as an admin. And so you can choose to block syncing on specific files. You can allow syncing only on PCs joined by specific domains. So you can get really specific. You can turn them all off if you want, but you can get really specific to block specific file types. If you don't want people sharing out, PowerPoint presentations or whatever, you can block those file types here by clicking on this, and then you can choose a file extension if you would like. Next, we'll get into storage. And so this is the default storage in gigabytes per 365 plan. So you can delegate how much storage somebody gets, and you can limit their storage. This is the default here in this environment is 1024. You could break that down way down to like 500 and then just kind of give it to them as they need. It's really up to you. This is all planning and how you want to best manage your storage. And then this is how many days to retain files in OneDrive after they mark that delete marker on it. So again, when you delete a file, there's just a delete marker that is on top of it. So the file doesn't actually become deleted until, in this case, 30 days. There's just a delete marker where you can then delete the delete marker, which the file would then reappear. So you can choose how long you want that delete marker to stay. It could be 30, 90, however it is that you want. Now, device access. So this, when you start to get into secure networks and you start getting into who is allowed to have access to your environment, can be very important. This can have consequences when getting into compliance. So you can allow only access from specific IP addresses. Maybe you choose your office IP. Maybe you only want people to be able to access from your office. Or if you have people's home IP addresses, you can say you only can access from home in the office. It really just depends on how secure you want to get down in your environment. It kind of defeats the purpose of cloud computing when you narrow down specific IP addresses, but I do understand there are some security concerns for certain organizations, and maybe they just want to be cautious and they want to disallow from specific IP addresses or only allow from certain IP addresses. Now, in the Azure Active Directory, you can block specific IP addresses. So if you are getting attacked, you can block the IP address from where the attack came from. Totally different conversation. You can control access from apps that enforce device restrictions. So this currently by default allows access from apps that don't use modern authentication. Modern authentication is through app passwords. So you do have to kind of be careful with that. This does allow it. If you uncheck it, just know that you're going to have to use app passwords, which we'll go over in a later lesson. There are a bunch of other settings here that you can kind of read over. These settings control access to features in OneDrive and SharePoint. And so, you know, it definitely just is some things to look over and concern, make your own ideas, make your own plan for how you want to enforce these. The last one that is checked here, require 365 sign-in every 7 days. That's a good one to keep on. That will just make sure that people are re-authenticating so that if they log into a computer and they forget to log out in a public network or something like that, it'll only be up for a week. So you can minimize the time. You can, you know, I think that's a good one to keep checked. Now, minutes to verify user access after. So this is when a device is offline. So if your device goes offline, we get that a lot. One of the main questions that we get from our organization is, why didn't I have to re-authenticate MFA? Well, your device wasn't offline. So it really, that is a key component in MFA, multi-factor authentication, and seeing who a user is and who the user is trying to access. So if your device goes offline for an hour and a half, well, then you're going to be asked to re-authenticate. And then days to wipe the app data. So this is 720 days, which I believe is just about 2 years. So we'll get into compliance. Now, this compliance gets into auditing, data loss prevention. These are all policies that really are not really a part of OneDrive. These are going to open up Azure Active Directory, which we're going to go over in a totally other course. Then you get into notifications. Now, I would leave all of these on because I think the more communication we get, the better. Now, I do understand that not everybody likes to get emails. Not everybody likes to get pinged when certain things happen. But I believe that the more notifications, the better when it comes to document security. And so I would leave these checked on if I were you. And what it does is it allows the owners of documents to get a notification when other users invite additional external users to the share site. So meaning you shared it with somebody, that person then shares it out, you get a notification so that if you didn't want that to happen, you can go in and say never mind and mark that as a no. Then external users accept invitations. So if somebody says, yep, I accept this invitation, you're going to get the notification that yes, they do have access. I think that's good to know who has access and to know that they've accepted it so you don't have to take any further action. And then get a notification when an anonymous access link is created or changed. So anonymous access links are ones that anyone can access your files with and they don't have to say who they are. So if that file gets created or changed, I think that's an important one for administrator or a document owner to know. I like to get notifications when the back door has been opened from my house. I definitely like it with my documents storage. That last one is data migration. If we click that, it's actually going to bring us back into the Microsoft SharePoint Admin Center. And here we're going to see the migration manager, and then we'll see other migration tools like the SharePoint migration tool, which is a pretty cool one, and then Mover, which was acquired by Microsoft. So these are some pretty cool migration tools. They're out of the box. You can download them. The SharePoint migration tool is pretty good. It's just basically a lift and shift, but still tools that are extremely useful and can provide a little more ease and comfort when moving to 365 environments from traditional on-prem. So this is the OneDrive Admin Center. So there's not a whole lot here, but there's not really a whole lot to OneDrive. So thanks for checking out this video. Hope you got a lot out of it. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to see a specific video, hit it in the comments, and I will make sure to get to it. Until next time, guys. See ya.